Good evening, folks. Welcome back to the channel. Pleasure to see you. It always is. I hope you're all doing well. Day 4 in the ATP Masters. As always, we'll be going through each and every one of these matches that we've got for today. Get your comments in with your predictions. Anything that I'm going for personally today will be in that pinned comment. Feel free to take a look at that. You're more than welcome to. Take it if you want. Leave it if you must. Choice is yours. It's entirely up to you. But do like the video. If you be so kind, get yourself subscribed to the channel if you're not already. We continue to grow each and every day. It would be an honour to welcome you to the squad, so get yourself involved. And we'll do a quick recap of yesterday. How did we manage? Did we win? Did we lose? Did we just come close? Most importantly, did we enjoy the matches? I was very close. I'll go first. I was very close. Davidovich Fokina to beat Articazo. Happy days. I was happy with that. Lorenzo Musetti to beat Sonego. He had him beat. He had him beat, man. He really did. He was cruising through that first set. Pissed away them 2 break points. Double faulted the second set away. Never managed to recover. Won just the one game after doing so. Colossal collapse. An immense implosion from Lorenzo Musetti. Very, rather disappointing indeed. But you ain't going to catch me crying. So close, but yet so far. What are you going to do? Well, that's just me. That's just me. We'll see what we can do today. But get yourself involved, share with the group, don't be shy. And we'll waste no more time, folks. Let's get right into business. Let's get it on. Fokina, Alexander Zverev. It's going to be a good one. I imagine it's going to be an interesting match. It usually is when these two face off. And they're no stranger to one another. Head to head is 5-1 to Zverev. Rather one-sided, I must admit. I think Davidovich Fokina has managed to get at Zverev a little bit more in the last couple of games. Last time he played was this year in Madrid. Rather close game indeed. Davidovich Fokina 6-2 in the first set, and then it took Zverev 2 tie breaks in the second and third to see that one through. Good stuff, good stuff. And then you're going back to 2023. Davidovich Fokina did manage to sneak a win in Toronto in 2023. That's right. Zverev won the first 3. Then the Spaniard got one, and Zverev has won the last 2. But the last 2 have went 3 sets. Maybe a bit of food for thought. Now, if you were to ask me, I'd say, based on what I've seen so far this week in Paris, I'd say one of them has been playing, or one of them has at least has looked a lot better than the other. I would have to say Davidovich Fokina has impressed me a lot more, especially coming off that run to the title. Bit of a disappointing end to the title run over in Switzerland, I will admit. The game against Valentin Royer dropping the set. Thought, oh god, how much is he going to have to come back? How much will he have in the tank to see this one through? How deep will he go? And he managed to pull that one back, and he looked rather convincing doing so. He looked fantastic in the end. And then I had him against Articazo. Happy days. Happy days. I was rather impressed with what I've seen. He looked solid. He looked fairly solid. And as for Zverev, now I don't know whether this was Zverev with his foot off the gas, whether Ugo Carabelli just discovered something out of nowhere. I'm not too sure, but for what it was, even in hindsight, I mean, that's a bit too close to call. A bit too close for comfort, in my opinion. Zverev against Ugo Carabelli. A tiebreak, is that? Yeah, he dropped the tiebreak, come back and won the second set 6-1, and then he had to come back in the third, pulled that one back to 7-5. Cause for concern, maybe. I don't know. We've seen him do that. He looked rather unconvincing against Jacob Fernley, first time out in Vienna last week, and then he flew through the rest of the tournament. So don't really know what to take from that. But what I will say is this: you're getting Zverev around 1.4, 1.45. This opened up around 1.35. Bit of cash coming in on the Spaniard. I kind of have to agree. It's easy to sit here and say, oh yeah, Zverev should be beating Davidovich Fokina, but he didn't look that great. He didn't look that great whatsoever. And if Ugo Carabelli is dragging you to 3 sets, the current version of Davidovich Fokina, given the form that he's in, I would imagine he would be suited to give you a much tougher time than the Argentinian. So maybe Davidovich Fokina for a set on the spread, something or other. I wouldn't be too sure. I'd just be very, very careful about trusting Zverev at such a short price on that one. I don't know, you let me know in the comments, and we'll move on to got Francisco Cerundolo. Jannik Sinner. If this was on the clay, maybe be a little bit different, but it's not. It's on the hard court. And what is the price for Jannik Sinner? 1.03. Of course it is. I'm expecting him to win. I'm expecting him to beat Cerundolo, but it's never really been an easy matchup for him in the past. Cerundolo did win the first one. Say he won the first one, it was a walkover, so it's probably not that fair to say. Beat him 2 years ago on the clay. That's right. Jannik Sinner took a tiebreak, and then Cerundolo just bullied him 6-2, 6-2. Most recent time out was in Rome this year, a tiebreak, and then 6-3 from Jannik Sinner. Apart from that, these haven't played each other on the hard court in 3 years. I imagine how this one, well, can you imagine how this one's going to go? I would have to assume Jannik Sinner's going to win this. Cerundolo on that spread. He had a close one with Kekmanovic. It was quite a decent call, that wasn't it? Quite a nice shout. It was a nice shout. That one was always going over, in my opinion. He looked very ropey against Demir Juma. Had himself somewhat of a war with Kekmanovic. I wouldn't expect you're going to take out Jannik Sinner. It's just hard for me to ever go against him. Look at the form. He never gets beat. He never gets beat unless he pulls out or unless it's Carlos Alcaraz. So, as always, be Jannik Sinner for me. If you believe Cerundolo can keep this one close, I imagine you will get a massive spread, as we always do with these Jannik Sinner opponents. So, maybe lean towards an over. If you feel unlucky, lean towards Cerundolo on that spread. If you believe he can dog this one out. Norrie, Valentin Vacherot. Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought? I'll be honest with you, I kind of expected Vacherot to get to this point. Anything but easy. Rinderknech did take that first set. It was kind of a carbon copy of the last time they played in the final of the Shanghai Masters. It was a slight lean towards Vacherot. Successful lean indeed. He's looked fairly decent. Absolutely pummeled Yuri Lehechka, and then had a decent game against Rinderknech once again. But now he plays Norrie. And like I say, I kind of expected Vacherot to be here. I did not expect Norrie to get past Carlos Alcaraz. I really didn't. And I don't really know what to take from it. I really don't. Got past Sebastian Baez. The game against Alcaraz, the performance was fantastic. You can't take nothing away from him. Alcaraz even won that first set. So, what's the excuse? What is the excuse? Because you'd never have said Norrie would have stood the chance against that guy, never. And he looked really good. And in a case like that, I'd usually say whoever takes out Carlos Alcaraz in impressive fashion is pretty much good enough to beat anyone else on the tour, especially a Valentin Vacherot. But given the current momentum and the form of Vacherot, it does make it rather difficult for me to go against them. This is somewhat split down the middle. We did get Vacherot as a slight favourite, bit of cash coming in on Norrie, and rightly so. I fully expected that. I think we could be in for an over in this one. I think I would lean very slightly towards an over 22.5, depending on what you can get the total at. All this is dependent, well, I'd say dependent. It's quite reliant on what version we're going to get of Norrie. I would have to assume Vacherot is going to turn up good to go. He's going to turn up good to go. I would have to assume that. Norrie, decent against Baez, outstanding against Alcaraz. Are you going to be able to maintain said level? Because if so, I don't see why he wouldn't beat Valentin Vacherot today. Did Carlos Alcaraz really play that bad? Or did Norrie just play that good? I suppose we will definitely find out today. I'd lean towards an over. Either one of them for a set as a parlay piece while the odds are split down the middle. Then we've got Felix Auger Aliassime, Daniel Altmaier. I've been very impressed with Daniel Altmaier so far this week. I'll give him that. The game against Marcus Giron was too easy for him. Too easy. Didn't read into it too much. The one against Casper Ruud, fantastic. Now, could sit here and say Casper Ruud looks a little bit uninspired, but he was really good the week before, and then he bumped into Daniel Altmaier this week, and he had no chance. He's literally just come off a title, and then a run to the quarterfinals. He's playing good. Is Casper Ruud on the indoor hard court, and then Daniel Altmaier managed to deal with him with relative ease. Relative ease indeed, 6-3, 7-5, happy days. As for Felix, He went to war with Commissania, 3 sets with that guy. And then he went to war with Alexander Muller today. It took 2 tiebreakers in the second and third for him to pull that back and win. 2 players who, when it comes to hardcore tennis, we'd have said Felix should have had pretty much next to no problem dealing with. And he has more than struggled with the pair of them. And he comes into this one today around 1.35. That price in at 1.3, it's the price you got to pay. That is the price you got to pay for Felix to ruin your day. Head to head is 2-1 to Daniel Altmaier. Beat him last year on the hard court, beat him this year on the clay, and then Felix got one back on the clay, most recently in Germany. Cause for concern for Felix in this one. It feels weird kind of saying it, but I think Daniel Altmaier on that spread mightn't be that bad of a shout today. Might even be a decent dog, even being honest, folks. Over a 2-1 dog for Daniel Altmaier. Maybe I'm reading into it too much. Maybe we're at that point in the tournament now where, actually, I don't know. I'd say we're at that point in the tournament where the dogs are going to start falling. But if you take out Casper Ruud like that, I'd fancy him to have a decent go against Felix. I really would. I didn't think Alexander Muller would give him that good of a go, give him that much trouble. Even Commissania. Daniel Altmaier, you would have to assume he's playing, if anything, just as good. He's playing better, isn't he? He's still here. So he's clearly playing better than those two. I'm not going to overthink it. I'm not going to waste too much time on it. Daniel Altmaier on that spread, whatever it may be. 3.5 maybe. If I could get 3.5 for the German today, I may be very, very tempted. I don't need him to win. Just need him to give it a very good go. Which, the form that he's found this week over in the Paris Masters, I wouldn't be too surprised if he was to do just that. Taylor Fritz, Alexander Bublik, could be a decent one. I think this is going to be a serve out. I think this will just be a shootout. Who knows, it may be a bit more entertaining than what I've got it chalked up to be. I think Bublik has been in a bit more, slightly better form than Taylor Fritz at the moment. Fritz did get to the final in Tokyo not that long ago, but ever since getting to the final, it's been a bit patchy. It's been a little bit patchy. Couple of 1-on-1s. Well, a bunch of second round exits really. Went 2-1 in the Six Kings Slam. Took out Alexander Vukic. Vukic done what Vukic done. He had a close first set and then kind of shattered away in the second. It is what it is. Taylor Fritz is going to do what Taylor Fritz does. He'll turn up and serve, and that usually sees him through the majority of the time. Now he faces Alexander Bublik, who can do the exact same. I probably lean towards an over in this one as well. Bublik looks sound, as he always does, really. Lexi Popper and Corentin Moutet, all in straight sets, easy as you like, cool as a cucumber. Played each other 6 times before. Head to head is 3 apiece. So neither one can really decide who the better player is out of the pair. Last time he played was in the Olympics last year, so Alexander Bublik won the first 3, and then Taylor Fritz has won the last 3. Bit of a shift, but I think Alexander Bublik this season, for the most part, he's been fantastic, but the start was a bit slow. But the player that he's become, well, the player that stands before us today is so difficult to beat. So difficult to beat. And with these finals coming up very, very shortly, I'm not so sure how far Taylor Fritz is willing to go in these tournaments. Prior to the finals, is he willing to nail himself to a cross to get past Alexander Bublik? You might have to. If he wants this title, you may have a problem on your hands today. You just might. Getting Bublik around 2.2, not a bad dog. Not a bad dog at all. 1.5 for Taylor Fritz. I'd lean towards Alexander Bublik seeing it through. I'd lean towards Bublik, at least for a set. We've been saying it for months now. We can't deny him. It's very difficult to deny Alexander Bublik currently, folks. You know that. So we'll move on to Lorenzo Sonego and Daniel Medvedev. I'd have to go with Medvedev. If that was Medvedev yesterday and not Lorenzo Musetti, probably would have won. As a matter of fact, he most definitely would have won. Lorenzo Musetti was cruising through that game. Had them 2 break points, shot them away, double faulted the second set away, never recovered, won 1 game after that. Just the 1 game. Very disappointing. I highly doubt we're going to get that sort of collapse from Daniel Medvedev today. I feel like he's more than capable of rising to the occasion of taking on Lorenzo Sonego in the 3rd round in the Paris Masters. Absolutely. These have played each other 3 times before, and Daniil Medvedev's won every single one. Hard court last year, clay the year before, and on the hard court the year before as well. Like I say, every single one. It's kind of a close match last year as well in Dubai. Sonego did take a set. I thought Sonego played fairly decent, didn't do anything spectacular. Like I say, it was just a colossal fucking implosion, absolute collapse from Musetti that seen Sonego through to this one. He looked better against Korda in the first round. I say Musetti, if he was just continued to do what he was doing, we wouldn't even be seeing Sonego here today. So it's very difficult for me to trust him in this one against Medvedev. Daniil Medvedev around 1.3 makes sense to me. It makes sense to me. Say unfortunately, depends who we're talking about. Unfortunately for Sonego, I only see one winner in this, but fortunately for Medvedev, he is said winner in mind. So I think we will wrap this up. There's one more that hasn't filtered through because they're still playing. Demonor and Kachanov are still playing. So we've got Ben Shelton, Andrei Rublev. What are we to do with these two? What are we to do with these? I'll say this straight off the bat. There was a lot of concern around Ben Shelton in the first match against Flavio Cobolli. And he looked alright. He looked rather fine, did he not? I thought he did anyway. And against Andrei Rublev, Andrei Rublev against Leonard Tien, there was a lot of concern around him. And he looked good as well. He looked rather fine too. So I don't really know what to expect in this one. Rublev just smoked Jacob Fernley. Had himself a decent match with Leonard Tien 6-4, 6-4. Ben Shelton, kind of, even though it was a decent result, tie-break in the first. What are you going to do? It's Ben Shelton in it. There's usually a tie-break or a 7-5 in there somewhere. 6-3 in the second. He looks like he's definitely on his way back. Much better than what we've seen the past couple of games, that's for sure. Is he going to get past Andrei Rublev? Maybe, probably, possibly. I don't know. I'd say I would have to lean. It's killing me to do because you know me, I love Andrei Rublev, but I would have to lean ever so slightly with Ben Shelton, probably just edging this one out. It's got to the point now where we're 2 games in, and I've been very impressed, more than impressed with Andrei Rublev. And just when you feel like you can start to trust him, that's when he reminds you that you can't. Ben Shelton, if anything, if he's back to fitness and he's back and he implements his game, I seen him after the game. I didn't see him. I watched the interview after the match, and he said, the court's over in Paris. He feels like it really suits his game, and he looked in full control as well against Flavio Cobolli for the most part. If he can just turn up and save this one out, I'm not so sure Andrei Rublev can hold his nerve and his serve through this one. If things start to go pear-shaped, if you can't break Ben Shelton, I wouldn't be that surprised to see Andrei Rublev start to break himself. You know it's true. This was somewhat split down the middle. Quite a bit of cash come in on the American, call it 1.7, 1.75 for Shelley. I kind of agree with it, I kind of don't. But then again, it's like, I don't really know what I expected with this one. I kind of do agree, actually. I'll take it back. I do agree with Ben Shelton being the slightest of favourites based on what we know can happen in a matchup like this. Head-to-head's one apiece. Rublev beat him in the Ultimate Tennis Showdown this year. And then last year, Ben Shelton got it done just about 3 sets. Swiss indoors, indoor hard court. Very similar conditions to these. Maybe not as slow. These courts, as we've said, they do play a little bit slower, but around this time of the season, if he can find that form again, I don't see why we wouldn't be in for more of the same. Go for an over 22.5, either one for a set as a parlay piece. Am I slightly leaning towards Ben Shelton? I feel like I'd have to. Like I said, if he can turn up and just save this one out, Rublev may just do the rest. It's food for thought. It is just food for thought, folks. He won't waste any more time. Very well, folks, that's going to do us once again. Another day in the bag. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate you all watching the show. Like and subscribe before you go. And make sure you take it easy. Take care of yourselves. Take care of one another. I wish you the best of luck, however you decide to go about your business today. But do have yourself a good one, and I'll see you all tomorrow.